FYF Sportsman, it's Lamont. We back with another game breakdown video. Lakers, Nuggets, Game 4. You know, this is one of the turning point games of the series. It could either end up tied or it can go to 3-1. And we saw the Lakers, you know, they came through with a big performance today by their two superstars, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They were able to pull out the win. They withstood all of the Denver runs. You know what? But we're going to get into that game. We're going to get in, you know, to our breakdown. Not just our breakdown, but again, the main reason why I'm doing this breakdown, because it's just amazing to me when I hear other people break down this game, and it's almost as if they turned the TV off and didn't watch the game at all. But before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to the video if you haven't done so already. All right, we're going to start going live. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, 2 hours before each finals game. You're going to want to be a part of that. The only way you know when we're going live is you hit the notification bell. All right. So again, subscribe, hit that notification bell, be a part of those live debates, win cash prizes if you come with the strongest arguments. But today, man, we had a great game with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets, man. The Lakers, they came out strong, you know, up double figures early. And as we know, Denver's been a resilient team all throughout the playoffs. Probably the most resilient team we've seen in the NBA bubble. They get down, they can storm back. This is not going to be an easy team to put away, even when they're down 3-1. This is when the Lakers need to lock in and be even more focused, because we've seen this team do what? They came back in 2 playoff series back to back from 3-1 deficits. They did it against Utah. They did it against the Clippers. The Lakers don't want to be the next victim of that type of comeback. So they have to come back in Game 5, laser focused and ready to go, because we know this team will not give up just because they're down 3-1. Again, we're going to get to the highlights, the breakdown of the game later. Right here, this was a conversation. Again, I was busy tonight. I would have loved to have jumped into this particular conversation tonight to speak on the game. I had some other stuff going on where I couldn't be a part of the conversation, but as I listened in on this particular conversation, it was just amazing to me, you know, when these guys, when they recap the game, it's almost as if we're watching 2 separate games, because I don't know what these guys saw to come to the conclusion that they actually came to with regards to this game. So this is going to be a 3-part game highlight breakdown. All right, so I'm going to break down part 1. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Michael Porter Jr. and the defense. Part 2, we're going to be talking about LeBron James and his performance tonight. And then part 3, we're going to be talking about Dwight Howard. And again, this is just a 3-part breakdown, because again, you have to just watch the game. And once you watch the game, it's easy to use deductive reasoning to figure out what went wrong with the Denver Nuggets tonight. And it's just amazing to me the things that people blame wins and losses on. You know what? I'm not even going to talk on it anymore. I'm just going to allow you guys to hear it. So we're going to listen along. All right. We're going to pause it to fact check. And we may even go to some video to double down on some of the evidence that we use, again, to debunk some of the things that we hear. Because this is FYF debates. The purpose of this show is when we hear things that are not factual, we debunk them with facts. That's what we do here. Not just fact. We bring the evidence. We don't just talk about it, but we bring the evidence as well. But we're going to get to this conversation right here.
You can have all the talent in the world, but if that coach screws ain't on tight, you're going to break down on the interstate trying to go out of town. You better get you a rental car. Man, Michael Porter Jr. could be way bigger factor than what he playing. I told you, Ticket, in the chat room, in the panel, ever since that dude blasted that coach, you don't get that from no rookie. That dude supposed to be the #1 pick. He knew injuries derailed that. So it ain't like his IQ not there. It ain't like he don't know what it take to win. It ain't like he don't know what it take to put the fucking ball in the basket. But you got all these niggas that's gonna block these rookies out like they don't have a voice. Man, that's not fucking right, dog. And that's about to cost them. That's about to fucking cost them. I love a young hyena who want to come out there and be a part of an organization and give his all. Like you say, Millsap and them get cooked, but they off on the offense. They shooting fucking bricks. So I'd rather put an offensive threat in there where he can stretch the floor sit at the 3-point line, and take a nigga off the dribble. Now you gotta play D on me too. You know what I mean? Just like I gotta play D on you. But if you see these niggas bricking, you're not making adjustments after adjustments. You see these niggas not in position, busting out defensive plays. Man, you gotta pull the string. Then I'm listening to you commentate.
CJ, you got to shut up, man. Everybody knows that coach gave him this game, bro. The Lakers was trying to lose this game. That game was right there on the platter for the Denver Nuggets. The coach took out Michael Porter Jr. when the nigga was killing and brought him back in the game. The whole team froze the man out. After he did that, the whole team froze him out, and the coach took about the last 6-7 minutes down the stretch. They couldn't score. Point blank period. Murray out there playing hero ball. They wouldn't give Michael Porter Jr. the basketball. LeBron James was playing like trash down the stretch. He got a lucky.
A lot going on right there. That's a lot to digest. The main thing that we want to talk about right there is Michael Porter Jr. Now, we heard Jay. We see the Jay right here. That's James. He was just talking. They're talking about how all of these other guys are getting playing time over Michael Porter Jr. So what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to break down is the amount of playing time that these guys got. All right, they spoke on Paul Millsap. They said Paul Millsap shouldn't even be playing. Okay. Spoke on Gary Harris. He's another starter. They said this guy shouldn't be playing. Okay. Well, they obviously in the past have already spoke on Plumlee. We've seen the mistakes that he's made. His minutes have definitely been reduced down. Okay. Torrey Craig, I mean, you can't rely on him for scoring, but he's definitely a great defender. And he's a great rebounder. He can guard 4 positions. So, they say you can't play Craig either. A guy that we didn't talk about was a guy who didn't play at all today, PJ Dozier. We saw him miss clutch free throws down the stretch in the past game. It's going to be hard to play him, even though there's a lot that he can bring to the table. Then we're going to talk about Michael Porter Jr. Now, Michael Porter Jr. tonight, he played more minutes than Paul Millsap. He played more minutes than Gary Harris. He played more minutes than Torrey Craig. He played more minutes than Plumlee. So Michael Porter Jr. played more minutes than 4 other players. And again, you can look at that 21 minutes. You can say that's not enough. You could say he probably should have played 21 or 30 minutes, a few extra minutes. And again, it's hard to get those minutes in with the Florida game. Obviously, every NBA team, the first 15 minutes of the game, the first quarter and going into the second quarter, that's already game planned out. That's already mapped out. You have your starters in the first quarter. Starters usually in the NBA come out maybe at around the 9-10 minute mark, depending on foul trouble. That's when the bench guys usually come in. The bench guys usually stay in going into the second quarter. And then that's when you transition your starters or whoever's playing best back in the second half. Now, why was Michael Porter Jr. not part of that second half group that played going down the stretch in the second quarter? And I meant to say second quarter earlier. So why was Michael Porter Jr. not part of that second quarter group that ended the second quarter? That's what really affected his minutes. His play was so bad in the first and second quarter that he didn't play going down the stretch late into the second quarter. Now in the third quarter, he made some shots. He made up for it slightly, but he still did not play great at all. What we're going to do now is we're going to break down Michael Porter Jr.'s defensive highlights, and I'm going to show you guys exactly why Mike Malone had to bench Michael Porter Jr. going down the stretch in the second quarter. Now, again, this is the quarter that really affected his minutes, because Porter Jr.'s defense was so bad, especially in that second quarter, that he basically was unplayable. Now, he possibly regathered himself going into halftime, came back out in the third. His defense didn't get any better, but he was a little bit more assertive offensively. So we're going to just go, as we always do. The first thing we do is we go to the drawing board. We're going to go to the drawing board, and we're going to break down some of these Michael Porter Jr. defensive highlights. All right, so we got our drawing board up right here. Now, first highlight, we're going to start with when Michael Porter Jr., he entered the game towards the end of the first quarter. And as I just said, most NBA teams I would say all NBA teams, the first 15 minutes of the game, especially substitution wise, is already planned out. From that point forward, it's based on who's playing well and foul trouble, and that determines rotations and substitution patterns for the rest of the game. That's prototypical for every NBA team. That's not anything new. And if you played pro, if you played college, that's something you should know. All right. And so we know with Michael Porter Jr. coming off the bench, because of that systematic game plan that's built into the game plan for most teams, that's going to affect your minutes, because most coaches don't like to divert from that plan, that 15-minute plan early, unless they have to, and that's usually due to foul trouble. All right. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to go over, and these are some highlights that I pulled out, especially in the second quarter. This is what made Michael Porter Jr. almost unplayable going down the stretch, and I'm surprised that the coach actually went back to him in the third quarter based on how bad he was in the first and second quarter. So we're going to get to these highlights here, and we're just going to break it down for you. That way, again, this is video evidence. This is not me just talking and spewing stuff. This is video evidence. So we're going to start with the first highlight here. Okay, in the first quarter, here's an effort play by Michael Porter Jr. not being able, as I told you guys before, to fight over the screen. We're going to rewind that back slightly. All right, so this particular play right here. Again, this is what I've spoken on in the past before. It's about effort. It's about effort. It's about not getting screened. To be honest, this is not a very tough screen. And the Denver Nuggets have a set way how they guard pick and rolls is exactly the same. They use drop coverage. So you have to fight over screens. You have to chase your guy down. You have to recover. It's not very hard. And with a guy like Kuzma, with drop coverage, you should be able to do that because he's not lightning quick. Michael Porter Jr. is more athletic and he's a lot faster than Kuzma. This is something that he should be able to fight over this screen and get over. Now watch his effort on this particular play once again. No effort, gives up on the play. Kuzma makes the shot. Now we're going to go into another play. Again, now we're talking about individual defense, one-on-one. What do we talk about with Michael Porter Jr. one-on-one? His one-on-one defense, his individual defense is so bad, it can get other guys in foul trouble. And I know this is LeBron James, but this is the one time someone, this is the one. Anthony Davis wasn't lighting Porter Jr. up. LeBron really wasn't. This is the only basket we'll see from LeBron against Porter Jr. But this is evidence to show you how poor he plays on defense and how little he tries. This is called a lack of effort. On skates, doesn't know what to do. And what does he do when he drives? He opens up. So the first thing that he does defensively is he opens up. He's not staying in front of LeBron. The second thing that he does is he forces his big man to have to step up. Now we know this is a game where Jokic was in foul trouble. And this is one of the reasons why your center is in foul trouble. When you open up and when you allow your guys to attack middle. All right. Every coach in the NBA is going to tell you to deny the middle of the court. Regardless of what somebody is doing with the basketball, they can dance all they want. Your job is to take away the middle, and most teams will force you towards that sixth defender, which is the sideline and the baseline. Porter Jr. did a terrible job of that. This is called low defensive IQ. I'm going to watch that again. Porter Jr., easy bucket scored by LeBron James. Next play. Another effort play, you guys. We got another effort play. Watch how Kuzma just cuts to the basket. Porter Jr. once again falls asleep and allows Kuzma to do what? See, now Kuzma's been struggling this whole series to score the ball. As soon as Michael Porter Jr. gets on him, what is Kuzma now doing? Kuzma's now scoring points. He's moving. Why? Because he has an extremely lazy defensive player on him in Michael Porter Jr. So, again, we already saw Kuzma hit a jumper in the first quarter. Now he has an easy layup in the second quarter, early into the second quarter, which is allowed by Michael Porter Jr. We're going to run that back. We're going to look at it. I really want you guys to see the effort. All right. Very, very low, very, very bad defensive awareness. And this is basic right here. All right. Porter Jr. right now should easily be able to see man and ball. He should easily be able to see that. This should never happen in the NBA. We're going to play it again. Cuts right in. Layup. Poor defensive IQ. Now we're at 3 plays. All right, so that's 3 plays. He's given up 6 points already. Since he's entered the game, 6 points, all credited to poor defense by Michael Porter Jr. Next play. Again, now we have Michael Porter Jr. His worst defensive attribute is pick and roll defense. It's almost as if the man doesn't know what to do when a pick and roll happens. I want you to watch how confused this man looks in this very simple pick and roll action. I don't know what Porter Jr. is doing. For one, he's not communicating. Kuzma he set a fake screen. Porter Jr. runs straight to LeBron. What are you doing running straight to LeBron? LeBron's standing by the logo. He's not going to shoot that shot. This is not Damian Lillard. This is not Chris Paul. All you have to do is drop back, see where Kuzma goes, and you can communicate that out with Grant, because we know what? We know LeBron James is not going to shoot a logo 3-point shot. Poor defensive IQ. Okay, we're gonna allow this play to develop and watch what happens. All right, Grant isn't switching off. Why isn't Grant switching off? Because it wasn't a screen. And all Porter Jr. had to do was go under. What does he do? He runs to LeBron, sees that he messed up. He runs to Kuzma late, and now Kuzma has how many points now? He hits this 3. Now Kuzma is on 7 points already. Kuzma, an offensive player for the Lakers who's been struggling this entire playoff series, has already scored 7 points on Michael Porter Jr. So we're going to run that back again. I really want you guys to see this, because again, this is how coaches break this down. This is how you break it down. This is very simple. Now look where LeBron James is. LeBron James is on the logo. LeBron James is not going to shoot that ball. LeBron James is well guarded by Grant. No screen. Porter Jr. confused. Another 3 for Kuzma. Next play. Now we come down again. What are we doing? This is the same exact play. You would think by now that Porter Jr. would have learned. All right, why is Grant a step off the ball? Because he has the length to contest it. If LeBron decides to take a terrible 3-point shot 5 feet behind the 3-point line, what is Kuzma? Kuzma does the exact same thing. He fakes the screen. He knows that Porter Jr. doesn't have the defensive IQ to go under because LeBron is well guarded. And what happens? Wide open 3. And I don't even have to allow the rest of the play to play out because we know he made the 3-point shot. We allow Kuzma. So Kuzma comes into the game, 10 quick points. 10 quick points. All on who? All on Michael Porter Jr. All on basic defensive plays that, I'll give him the first screw up on the pick and roll. But when you run the same exact pick and roll and he makes the same exact mistake within a minute, where's your focus? Where's your defensive IQ? You're not even learning on the fly. You didn't even learn from the first shot attempt, at the 3-point that Kuzma made just a few minutes ago. We're going to run that back again. I want you guys to see that this is literally the exact same play, back to back. Back to back. Kuzma knows he's dealing with a defensive dummy. Michael Porter Jr. is literally a defensive dummy. He makes the same exact mistake. There's no need to switch. Grant is not switching off of LeBron, especially switching with Porter Jr. Watch that. Why? And then we have idiots who say this guy needs to play more minutes. Look at this. Same exact mistake. Gives up the 3. 10 quick points for Kuzma, just that fast. 10 quick points just for Kuzma. Like I said, this is all in the second quarter. So what I'm telling you guys is the coach is seeing all of these defensive breakdowns. So as a coach, I'm sitting here watching all of these defensive breakdowns. In the back of my mind, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to allow you to stay in the game and continue with these blunders? Or do I pull you out the game, maybe let you regather yourself, and I'll put you back in later, and hopefully you're not making the same mistakes? Like I said, it's not me, you guys. This is the video I'm showing you. So when you have people out there saying play Michael Porter Jr. more, this is why he's not playing more. I mean, all you have to do is use your eyes. I shouldn't have to run this video back to get basketball dummies to see that this man is unplayable. He allowed Kuzma to score 10 points Kuzma just went on an 8-0 run, or actually, yeah, Kuzma just went on a run by himself. Now, this is not even counting the layup that he allowed LeBron James to score earlier. Next play. Now, this is in the third quarter right here. This is in the third quarter. Porter Jr. is back in the game. What have the Lakers told every player on their team? If Porter Jr. is on you, what are we doing? We're attacking him. All right. Look at this. Look at this. This actually happened off a switch. There was a screen. There was a switch. Now Rondo has Porter Jr. one-on-one. What is Rondo going to do immediately? And this is a 6'4" guard driving on a 6'10" athletic wing. Why is he driving on a 6'10" athletic wing? Because he know he's dealing with a basketball dummy. He know that Porter Jr. defensively has extremely low IQ. All right. We don't even have to guess what happens, but I'll go ahead and play it out. Layup, scored on Michael Porter Jr. Forced a timeout. Next play. Now this play right here did not involve Michael Porter Jr., at least scoring wise, but I want you to also look at this as well. And this is early on in the fourth quarter. All right. I want you to look at this because as a coach, these are things that you're also looking at as well as Jamal Murray attacks for the layup. Jamal Murray is attacking for the layup. Now in the NBA, you know what this is called? If you are weak side, and right now, Michael Porter Jr. is weak side high. All right. So if you're weak side in the NBA, the only person that doesn't dive to the rim is the corner. So we have a guy in the corner. He stays, number 15. Porter Jr. is on the wing. It's his job on the drive, on the opposite drive, to flash to the basket. Why? What it does is it alleviates pressure for Jamal Murray. It gives him a corner three-point option for the pass, and it also gives him a cutting option, all right, for the dump-off pass for the layup. And we saw Jeremy Grant and Gary Harris do this extremely well against the LA Clippers. But I want you to watch what Porter Jr. does as this play develops. He stands. He stands on the three-point line. Your job, right, if you're weak side wing and you're high on the opposite drive, it's your job to dive. He did not dive at all. All right. And so a lot of people were saying, oh, Jamal Murray was playing hero ball. Well, this is one of the reasons why he's playing hero ball, because when he makes a great drive to the rim, you have guys like Michael Porter Jr. standing around not doing your job. All right. But if you're a fan of the game, this is not something you will notice. Next play. Same situation here. Now, at this point in the game, it's the fourth quarter. Jokic's in foul trouble. The coach has entrusted Michael Porter Jr. to be in the game at this point in time. This is the fourth quarter, valuable clutch minutes. So I don't know where people got this idea that he didn't play. He played in the most crucial points of the game in the fourth quarter. Now, in this particular situation, this was a stop that they greatly needed. Anthony Davis does the smart thing. Why is he attacking Jokic? He's attacking Jokic because Jokic's already in foul trouble. All right. Now, whose job is it to help to make? Because obviously this is a situation where if Jokic fouls, he's going to have to come out the game. Porter Jr. needs to stop the ball. That's called having defensive IQ. Let's watch what Porter Jr. does on this play. A lot of people will blame this on Jokic, but obviously Jokic trying to guard AD on the perimeter, you need to know that you need to be in help. All right. Porter Jr., no help. What is Porter Jr. doing? Porter Jr. could have done two things. He could have slid in front of the ball and been a better defender, or he could have slid in and possibly have taken the charge with higher defensive IQ. Because one thing you have to understand that your big man, your star, one of your superstars is in foul trouble. But what does he do? He does nothing, and he ends up behind the play as he is on most occasions. I want to run that one back again. I want to run that back. Now, Anthony Davis attacking Jokic. Porter Jr. does what? Does nothing. Does nothing. We see the score here. It's 93-88. Still a close game. 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. All right, Michael Porter Jr. allows a 3-point play. A lot of people will blame Jokic. You see, if you're a fan, you're gonna blame Jokic. But see, if you understand the game and you know that your star center is already in foul trouble, you need to also understand that they don't have a backup center. Plumlee is unplayable. You can't play Plumlee because you lose too much by putting Jokic on the bench, especially in the fourth when you're down. So we have to do everything possible as a team to do what? Protect our center, not allow him to pick up cheap fouls. What does Porter Jr. do in this critical point in the game? Instead of protecting his center, possibly just fouling Anthony Davis before he even goes to the rim, he allows him to split. He allows him to get to the rim, and Anthony Davis gets the and one, on top of the fact that the foul was also called on Jokic. This is what I mean by your defense is so bad that you put other people in jeopardy. This is what I said in my last video. I hope you guys understand this. Michael Porter Jr.'s defense is so bad, it puts other players in jeopardy. This is exactly what this game could have been a lot different if they didn't have to take Jokic out right after this play. Jokic had to come out the game, and who did they have to bring in? They're going to have to bring in one of those guys that Ticket TV and James said shouldn't be playing. Millsap, Plumlee, Torrey Craig. One of those guys are going to have to come in the game now because Jokic has just picked up his 5th foul with 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. And he picked up his 5th foul because of Michael Porter Jr. Now, what do you expect Mike Malone to do when your starting center, the player that got you here, picks up his 5th foul because of Michael Porter Jr.? See, but y'all say that he doesn't play him. Y'all say that he's not getting minutes. Are you guys watching the game? See, it all baffles me right here. This baffles me. We're gonna go to the next play. Another situation right here. Now, this is a situation right here where you got to have higher IQ. Now, when we're talking about Michael Porter Jr., he's what? He's a 6'10". He's the most athletic player on the court. What could he do better in this particular situation? And I only brought this up because this is where defensive or offensive IQ kicks in. He steps back to the 3-point line. Now, we saw against the Clippers. We saw how the Clippers were systematically broken down because you had guys constantly cutting into the rim, going back door. Because of his height and size, that would have been the perfect opportunity for him to cut in. Why? Because you have a guard in KCP under the rim. That could be an easy lob, dunk, layup, and one, any type of situation if you cut into the basket. Why? And now we see Morris. We have Morris on the wing spot right here, number 11. Morris was the diver, but Morris didn't dive. Now, see, there was an error on Morris as well. But again, what we need here is we got to have basketball IQ. Basketball IQ would say Morris could slide to the corner while Porter Jr. cuts to the rim to give the guy that's driving to the basket multiple options. What is Porter Jr. and I'll put Morris in this as well because they were both wrong. What could they have done, right, to give him more options, even though he hit a tough shot over Anthony Davis? Those guys are standing around. So when we blame Jamal Murray and we say he's playing hero ball, one of the reasons he's playing hero ball is because he has guys around him like Michael Porter Jr. They're standing around. They're not looking to create the action, and they got low basketball IQ. All right, this is what we mean by breaking it down. I beg y'all to stop being fans and actually study the game. That way, when you go into these shows, Ticket TV, Casino, RB, when you go into these shows, you can actually talk like you have some sense, as opposed to saying fire Mike Malone, because Mike Malone is in a tough situation. He's in a tough situation. And so for the idiots who think Porter Jr. didn't play well, I just showed you how terrible he played in the first and second quarter. So we don't even need to talk about the first and second quarter as to why when he was pulled out, he didn't go back into the game. All right, but Porter Jr. was subbed back into the game with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. All right. He hit 2 big threes to end the third quarter. Great. 2 big threes. I love the rhythm. Mike Malone left him in the game like he was supposed to do. The man was hot. Leave him in the game. Michael Porter Jr. did not come back out of the game. He didn't come out of the game until 5 minutes and 46 seconds in the fourth. Now, the man just has played. Now, I want you guys to know, in actual game time, do you know how long playing from 4 minutes into the third all the way to 5 minutes in the fourth? Do you know how long of a time frame that is of just straight running up and down full speed NBA basketball? So the fact that he eventually had to take Michael Porter Jr. out the game probably had something to do with fatigue, because I don't think he actually wanted to take Porter Jr. out the game. But at the end of the day, the man was gassed, one. All right. The man hasn't played NBA basketball or basketball whatsoever in the past 2 years, so his conditioning probably isn't where it should be. And on top of the fact that when the man was even, when Michael Porter Jr. was fresh in the first and second quarter, he made horrendous defensive decisions. What kind of defensive decisions do you think this man will make when he's fatigued? So why would you leave him in the game for the last 5 minutes of the game? He's just played almost 11 minutes of basketball without getting subbed out. Like, do you think he doesn't get tired? You think that's just easy? Come on, y'all. We gotta be smarter than that, y'all. It's about taking your biases out the game, not listening to everything you hear, and just being more intelligent on your basketball takes. And what I'm disappointed in is people are going on here, they're going on to the panel, and what are they doing? They're going straight to the panel, and they're saying fire Mike Malone. Fire Mike Malone for what? You know, we're gonna break, like I already broke this down. I broke their roster down to you. They started Millsap, Grant, Jokic, Murray, and Gary Harris. Paul Millsap, Gary Harris didn't have it today. Okay, that's 2 players. All right, that's 2 players. All right, their bench, they got 4 guys that they go to on the bench. You got Monty Morris, you got Torrey Craig, Porter Jr., you got Plumlee. Plumlee only played 14 minutes. All right. You only have one true center on the team, which is Jokic. And we hear all this talk about players being tired and getting gassed. It looked like Jokic was the one that was tired tonight on 6 of 13 shooting 16 points. But Gary Harris played bad. I'll give that to him. 1 of 5 shooting in 19 minutes. Plumlee, 14 minutes. Torrey Craig, 20 minutes. He didn't play bad. 3 of 6 shooting. He didn't play bad. 3 of 6 shooting. You know, I give him that. 2 rebounds, 1 assist. He could do more there, but he's a defensive player. We don't need him in there making plays. And you know, Monty Morris, 4-7 shooting 12 points in 27 minutes. He could have done a little bit more himself. So I want to say, if you're going to put Michael Porter Jr. in more minutes, I mean, that's what the coach essentially did tonight. Porter Jr. played more minutes than Millsap. He played more minutes than Gary Harris. He played more minutes than Torrey Craig. He played more minutes than Plumlee. He played over half the game. So, fire Mike Malone. What else was he supposed to do? Who was he supposed to find? Well, you know, was he supposed to put Troy Daniels in? Was he supposed to put Bates Diop in? Was he supposed to put Bol in? You know, this is not 2K. This is real life NBA basketball, y'all. Start thinking. All right, that's part 1. So we done with Michael Porter Jr. because again, I've systematically broke that down with the video. You know, now we got to go to the next aspect of this whole thing right here. All right, we're gonna go to the next aspect of this. Ticket TV said, you know what? We're gonna go back to it because I want you guys to read. I want you to hear exactly what he said about this particular situation. The man said that LeBron James played terrible. He said,
That was selfish, man. They really
Fact.
froze this man out
and
when he
listen,
cut the lead down.
And listen, Bron was playing like shit tonight. Bron played like absolute shit. This was a game where you definitely could.
Again, we don't have to play anymore. We heard the exact statement. LeBron James played like shit in Game 4 against the Denver Nuggets. Now, before we go to the highlights, because we're gonna break down the highlights, because again, I don't want you guys will say that the numbers don't tell the story. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the numbers first. LeBron James, 38 minutes, 7-18 shooting. Okay, below 50%. Could have shot better, but that's not horrendous. I mean, for your starter, for one of your main guys, 7 for 18, that's not bad. Just an off night. Made up for it. He went 11 of 14 from the free throw line. Great for LeBron James. That's far above his average percentage. And to go 14 times, I mean, most teams will love to see LeBron go to the free throw line 14 times because he's normally shooting like 6 or 7 of 14, 8 of 14. So the man went 11 of 14. Give him big props for knocking down those free throws. He had 9 rebounds today. He had 8 assists. He had 0 turnovers and 26 points. He was a +8 on the day. So LeBron James, 26 points, 8 assists, 9 rebounds, close to a triple-double, all with 0 turnovers. I want to understand how anybody can say that LeBron James played terrible tonight. This is what Ticket TV says. He said LeBron James played terrible. And this is not even, those are just his offensive numbers. His offensive numbers statistically are excellent. His offensive numbers statistically are great. Great. 0 turnovers in 38 minutes. And you're one of the primary ball handlers. That's great. This is not even talking about the fact that at the end of the game, LeBron took the toughest defensive assignment on the court. Murray was hot. Murray was making everything. What did LeBron do going down the stretch in the fourth quarter? Clutch defense. He took on the toughest assignment. He guarded Murray one-on-one, refused to get screened, and he shut Murray down. This is the guy that was single-handedly taking teams down. He single-handedly beat the Utah Jazz in the clutch. He single-handedly beat and defeated the LA Clippers in Game 7 in the clutch. LeBron James took the task of guarding this man in the fourth quarter, in the clutch moments of the fourth quarter, and not just guard him, but he successfully stopped him on multiple possessions. This is a guy that you guys said was tired in the fourth. This is a guy you said you think was going to wear down, and that the youth and quickness of the Denver Nuggets would stop him. He took on the toughest defensive assignment. Now, we've been talking about all of these defensive assignments with Michael Porter Jr., and we see how lethargic and lazy he is early on in the game. This is LeBron James in his 17th year guarding the best player on the Denver Nuggets in the fourth quarter. At least he's their best clutch player, and he shut him down. Let's go to the LeBron James highlights. We don't even really have to talk about it. We're going to go straight to the highlights. All right, we got these highlights here, man. We got LeBron jumping out on the break. Easy layup, man. Great way to start the game. And this is a game LeBron played with a lot of energy today. When people said he wouldn't have his legs, when people said he would be tired, Jamal Murray even said they were the younger team. A lot of people believed that. A lot of people believed it. And LeBron James really came out today and showed people that even in year 17, he's the best player in the league. Again, this is a 17-year player going against Michael Porter Jr., the supposed next KD. That's not happening.
Maybe he was worried about the pass, but anytime you have LeBron James, it's the help man that has a better chance. Previous move, he splits the double team, and you're right, Chris.
Told you, Porter Jr. He's putting the bigs in situations where they have to foul. There's another situation here. They have to foul. He didn't even get that particular foul call right there. Great pass again. Just one of his eight or nine assists. Again, another assist right here. Porter Jr. Defensive lapses. You got to hit the open guy. You got to go to the guy that Michael Porter Jr. is guarding whenever he's in the game. That if you want to have a lot of success against this team, Porter Jr. actually steps in. It's one of the positives of the first half for him. He makes that 3. Another gaffe, same mistake here. LeBron James with the assist. Again, this is about systematically picking this team apart, making the smartest plays. All right. We got a rebound by James. And then, again, this right here just shows you one of the, coast to coast. It's unacceptable for the Nuggets. I mean, but again, you don't expect a guy year 17 to be able to do this. Coast to coast, easy layup, nobody stops the ball. All right. Post up here, makes the right decision, hits the open guy, 3. Again, I don't see this. When people are saying he had a bad game, what are you talking about? I want to know what you're talking about when you say this man had a bad game. What are you referring to? Because I see a great game. What did it lack the flash? Did he not have the highlight dunk for you? I mean, to be able to rebound your own free throw miss. Obviously, there's communication and mix-ups right there by the Nuggets. Great pass right here for another assist to Morris. Again, it's finding angles, finding the open guy. LeBron James is running the floor harder than even the younger guys. Again, we're going to look at another play right here. Now, this is getting later into the game. His legs are supposed to be leaving. He's supposed to be getting fatigued. Now we're in the fourth quarter here. What does he do with Murray? Stops the most clutch player. He stops the most clutch player in Murray. Not only does he come down, but he comes down. He gets one of the reasons why they were extremely hard. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why the Lakers will be extremely hard to defeat in the playoffs. This is why. Let me read off his numbers again. Again, we heard Ticket TV say that LeBron James played bad. That's what he said. He said LeBron James played bad today. I didn't see it, you guys. I'm looking at the stats right here. I want you guys to help me. Is it something that I'm missing? When did he play bad? Yeah, and as you guys can see, man, from the stats, man, LeBron James, I'll read it off one more time. 26 points, 8 rebounds. 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 0 turnovers in 38 minutes. Doesn't sound like a guy that's fatigued. 11 of 14 from the free throw line. He exceeded there, and exceptional on the defensive end. And for Ticket to TV to say that the Lakers were trying to give this game away, that LeBron James played bad, again, I don't know what game you were watching when you say this man played a bad game. Again, that just completely baffles me. But again, we don't even need to speak on LeBron James any further. You guys saw the highlights. You guys heard the stats. We know that he was a +8 on the night, on top of the fact that the Lakers won the game, on top of the fact that he made the most crucial defensive stops in the fourth quarter. How you conclude that LeBron James played a bad game is mind-blowing. Again, you tell people a lot. You don't know basketball. You don't know basketball. That's what I hear a lot. I honestly don't know how you can say you know basketball when you say LeBron James played a bad game. I really want you to know, where in the video, where in the stats can you show me that he played a bad? I don't care. Maybe you can find some unknown analytic. Maybe you can find some video from the timeout. I know you guys like to talk about LeBron James off the court a lot. Maybe he said something wrong in the timeout to a player. You guys are going to have to find something, because on the court, this man played an amazing game. All right, but we're going to get off LeBron James. Now we're going to go to the third ether. The third ether, again, this is to the third degree. 3-part ether. Next up, we're going to speak on Dwight Howard. All right, now we got the audio pulled up right here. Now, I really want you guys to just listen. This was his take on the Lakers starting lineup today. Again, the Lakers made a subtle change today, and I say it's subtle. JaVale McGee was replaced in that starting lineup for Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's been playing a bit more physical with Jokic. That seems to have been bothering Jokic a lot more. So Vogel decided to switch it up. Now, why I say it's a subtle change, they normally start JaVale McGee. So starting Dwight Howard is not that far-fetched. You're just replacing one center for another. You're not going to a small lineup, a small ball lineup. You're not making any major changes. You're just swapping out one center for another. Now, we know that Ticket TV's been a big proponent of putting Rondo into that starting lineup. I don't know who you would take out, but what you do when you take Rondo off the bench and you put him into that starting lineup, now you have no go-to playmaker on your bench. All right, we know that LeBron's going to get gas. We know that Rondo's eventually going to get gas. Now, who do you go to on that bench to run your offense if Rondo starts? It makes no sense. Again, we hear him telling people a lot, you don't know basketball. You don't know basketball. Even CJ made this point. Who do you bring off the bench if Rondo starts? It makes no sense. That's the panic move. The panic move would be starting Rondo. Switching Dwight Howard for JaVale McGee is a very subtle change, and it actually paid big dividends. But let's hear what he has to say about the issue.
The Lakers have panicked and made a shocking last-minute move that I think is a bad move, and I'm going to tell y'all why I think this is a bad move. The Lakers have placed Dwight Howard in the starting lineup. The reason why I think it's a bad move is because Dwight Howard has been coming in the game trying to do all that crazy-ass rah-rah stuff with Jokic. And Dwight Howard's been getting quick fouls. He's been almost getting 4 or 5 fouls in less than 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you something. If Dwight Howard comes in the game tonight with that, and they're trying to put him in the game for the rebounding battle, but the way he's been playing against Jokic, he has not been playing good fundamental defense. I thought the Lakers should start AD at the center, play Rondo at the point, and move LeBron James to one of the other spots. Get Danny Green up out the lineup. That's what I thought they was going to do. But now you put this wild baboon, Dwight Howard, out there in the starting lineup. The way he's been playing, he has not been playing well, and he has been a foul machine.
I'm going to stop it right there. Again, no need to play anymore. It just sounds like ranting and raving, not based off basketball logic. Again, now that, look, this is not a personal shot towards anybody, but when your basketball logic is flawed, especially when you hoop, FYF Sports is always going to be there to debunk you. First thing before we even go to Dwight Howard's highlights, all right, what we're going to do is we're just going to look at his stat line, because again, we're going to look at his just like we did with LeBron. We're going to look at his stat line, then we're going to look at the video, all right, because I don't want you guys to say, oh, the stats don't tell the true story. Let's look at Dwight Howard's stat line for the night. Dwight Howard, 23 minutes tonight. Although he started, he played over half the game. I thought they probably should have played him a little bit more going down this stretch in the fourth quarter. But with Jokic out of the game, they didn't need a true center in the game. Jokic was in foul trouble in that fourth quarter, so I can understand why Vogel didn't go to Dwight Howard in that fourth. But Dwight Howard, 23 minutes, 5 of 6 from the field. That's great. Dwight Howard, 2 of 3 from the free throw line, just like LeBron James. That's great. When you can get that type of percentage out of Dwight Howard from the free throw line, same with LeBron, that's great. The man has 6 offensive rebounds, 5 defensive rebounds. In 23 minutes of action, he had 11 rebounds total. That's great. 1 assist, 1 steal. He didn't have any blocks, but he still played decent defensively. Jokic struggled tonight. Dwight Howard with 12 points. So the man had a double-double, 12 points, and 11 rebounds in 23 minutes of action. 23 minutes of action. Dwight Howard was a +7 on the night. See, this is why there's a difference between coaches and understanding coaching and strategy and fans and what fans think. Fans are going to say the most crazy things. Fans are going to say, play Bobo. Fans are going to say, start Rondo. Fans are going to say, play Porter Jr. 35, 40 minutes a game. Coaches understand this. And we're not just talking about one single coach. All right. When Vogel made the move to start Dwight Howard, we're going to look at the guys that he has on that bench. Look at the assistant coaches that he has on that bench helping him with that decision. Jason Kidd, primarily. Jason Kidd is a coach that you guys have been saying deserves a second chance to be a head coach in the NBA. Do you really think, as a coaching staff, they're just going to allow Vogel to make such a drastic move by himself? The reason why Vogel brought all these guys in is because they can help him make the right decisions. This is why it's called a coaching staff. This is not just Vogel's move. This was a coaching staff move. This was something that probably one of the assistants saw in video. They saw that if Dwight Howard, if he started the game and did X, Y, and Z, he could be successful. And as a coaching staff, that turned out to be a great move. It was a subtle change. It wasn't a panic move. It wasn't a major. It was a very subtle change. A very subtle change. And it paid great dividends. Now, will they start Dwight Howard the next game? I don't know. They may stick with it. But it's not that big a deal. JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard, not that big a deal, you guys. And by the way, JaVale McGee only played 5 minutes tonight. And again, the reason why Dwight Howard played only 23 minutes and JaVale McGee only 5, you got to understand that Jokic got into foul trouble. There was no need for a true big out there to guard Jokic the entire game. That 23 minutes of action for Dwight was just enough. Understand the game. You gotta stop being fans. Remember, we got NBA film study videos. Go look at the film. That's how you learn the game. And if you don't want to look at film, then go hoop. Go hoop or go find somewhere to hoop in an organized level where you can actually go learn the game. Because as of right now, we hear a lot of fan talk, a lot of fanfare. But that's why you have guys who get paid for coaching, and that's why you also have fans who don't get paid to do anything with regards to the NBA. That's why. They see things a little bit more differently, and it's not as simple as you guys think. So that's why we're bringing you this video, to systematically debunk all of this nonsense that people say. I wanted to chime in on this conversation. The reason why I'm making this video is because I didn't have the opportunity to call in and give my 2 cents. A lot of you guys say I'm hopping in, I'm trying to be controversial, I'm trying to say the opposite. No, when I hear nonsense, I actually speak on it. As opposed to other people who hear the nonsense, then waste their time calling in to repeat the same nonsense just because they want to sound agreeable. This is called FYF debates, y'all. FYF, that means fuck your feelings. So when we call into anybody's show, it's not about y'all feelings. We're going to tell you how it is based on what we know about the game. That's what we do. That's what I think some of you guys need to do, as opposed to calling in, repeating the same things that you hear from Ticket TV or James or anybody who could be considered a LeBron James hater. When you have that type of biased opinion of the game, you cannot give an honest take on what actually happens in the game. We listened to an entire diatribe about how the Denver Nuggets blew the game. This conversation should have been started off by talking about LeBron James coming up big with clutch defense on Jamal Murray at the end. That's how we should have started this off. But we start the conversation. Mike Malone blew the game. He has a limited roster. Denver Nuggets aren't even supposed to be here. No one expected this team to be here. They've been playing above their level. They've been playing far above where anybody would have thought the Denver Nuggets. Nobody picked the Denver Nuggets to be here. Nobody. When they were down 3-1 to the Jazz, we said that they were done. When they were down 3-1 to the Clippers, everybody counted them out. They're down 3-1 to the Lakers again for a reason. Now, one thing we have to admit, that this team is resilient. Will they be able to have another 3-1 comeback? It's extremely unlikely. Don't think it'll happen. But again, you never know. So the Lakers have to come back and finish it off. As it stands right now, they're in a lot of trouble. But we got one more thing. This was actually going to be, and again, this was actually going to be just an ether to the third degree. We ethered and debunked everything on Michael Porter Jr., not just with stats, but with video. We ethered everything about LeBron James having a bad game, not just with stats, but with video. Now, the ether to the fourth degree is here. So when we say you don't know basketball, I think this is the ultimate ether to who really doesn't know basketball. Because I've been thinking this the whole time. I just didn't really say anything. But I had a feeling that Ticket TV makes all of his basketball picks based off of some type of lucky charm or some type of golden pot at the end of the rainbow. He relies purely on luck. He relies purely on luck. He's not making educated basketball decisions. And I'm going to play a clip. This explains it all right here. This is the 100% this is the main reason why everything he says, you really have to take it with a grain of salt. I think he kind of exposed himself a little bit here. I'm going to play the clip. I'm going to just play the clip. I'm going to let you guys let me know what you think.
Freaking reason. You understand what I'm saying? William, I told you, Leave me alone during the streams, William. William, when I'm in the game, bro, don't come in here talking about, yo, chicken, they're gonna win. Bro, you're always jinxing niggas during the game, bro. Wait till after the game to come in and talk shit, Will. Don't come in here talking no shit during no basketball game, bro. You always jinx that shit during the game. After the game, you cool. Before the game, you cool. Don't come in here during the game. You just a bad luck charm during the game. Yo, chicken. Yo, Denver gonna win this game. No, they not gonna win this game, nigga, because you just came in here talking that dumb shit. Period.
Oh. What did Will jinx? First of all, because again, Ticket TV, you're a Laker fan. The Lakers won, but you said Will jinxed the Lakers or jinxed the Denver Nuggets by saying that Denver will win. Now Denver lost. So are you secretly rooting for the Denver Nuggets to beat the Los Angeles Lakers? Is this your pick to go to the NBA Finals? Because you told us your pick to go to the NBA Finals. You told us your pick to go to the NBA Finals was the Los Angeles Lakers. However, you just said, without saying it, that Will jinxed you, meaning you're secretly cheering for the Denver Nuggets to win this series. Why are you like? I don't understand it. Just come out. I know you don't want to be wrong about another Laker pick. You were wrong on the Portland. You were wrong on the Houston. You were wrong on the Clippers. And now you don't want to be wrong on the Laker pick. So you tell us all publicly that you select the Lakers. But you exposed yourself when you told Will live on air he jinxed you. You said he jinxed you. You said he jinxed you because he said that Denver was going to win the game. And he's the reason why Denver lost. I'm going to run that back, y'all. I'm going to run it back one more time, just in case I didn't hear that correct. We're going to run it back one more time.
Chicken. Yo, Denver gonna win this game. No, they not gonna win this game, nigga, because you just came here talking that dumb shit. Period. And so I'm just saying, man, I would have made that adjustment too. I would have played Craig over. Not Craig, excuse me. I would have been playing. You gotta get Millsap out the game. Gotta get Millsap out the game. Mike Malone lost his damn. That's all.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, Ticket. Millsap didn't play much. He only played 17 minutes. Porter Jr. played more minutes than Millsap, so I don't know what to tell you. Monty Morris played 27 minutes. The two players that you wanted to play more minutes played more minutes. Monty Morris played 27. Porter Jr. played 21. They both played more minutes and they lost. So again, I don't know what do we play Millsap 0 minutes when Jokic's in foul trouble? Like I don't know what you expect. He played him. He barely played him. He played him 17 minutes and Millsap started. Again, the logic, I don't understand it. Don't understand the logic. The guys that you did not want to play today, Gary Harris, Plumlee, they did not play much. They all played under 20 minutes. The guys that you wanted to play more played more minutes. This is what you wanted. You got what you wanted, and then you blame the loss on Will. Will jinxed you because you're secretly cheering the Denver Nuggets to beat the Lakers. Right? So you can have a hateful talking point on LeBron James when you come in. But we don't give LeBron credit for being clutch defensively at the end of the game. Clutch stops, taking on the hardest defensive assignment. We talk on how Mike Malone blew the game. I want to know, what could Mike Malone have done differently? You guys, based on the highlights, please tell me, what could Mike Malone have done differently? If you guys see something that he could have done differently, please let me know. Because playing Porter Jr. more minutes is not going to do anything other than it's going to equal more defensive gaffes and defensive headaches. Because as you guys saw in the highlights, as soon as he came into the game, Kyle Kuzma ran off 10 straight points. Kyle Kuzma ran off 10 straight points. So we're going to look at Kyle Kuzma's total stats. Kyle Kuzma only scored 10 points. Kyle Kuzma scored 10 points in 19 minutes. He scored all 10 points on Porter Jr. He scored all 10 points on Porter Jr. in 19 minutes. That's sad. That's sad right there. That's sad. You know, you say bench Danny Green, he was a plus 12 on the night. He was a plus 12 on the night. See, Danny Green does a lot of stuff that you won't ever see on any stat sheet. This is NBA coaches just don't randomly play certain players for any reason. Danny Green wasn't a starter on the Spurs just randomly. He didn't go to Toronto and be a starter on the Toronto Raptors just randomly. He didn't come to this Laker team and just randomly become a starter. He actually is good on the court. Like, let's stop with this narrative. He's missing a few shots. It makes him a bad player. There's things that he does on the court that just don't get calculated on the stat sheet. And I'm not even going to get into all the players that you guys hate on, because what they do best on the court doesn't show up on stat sheets. It's just, this was a bad basketball take. I know that you secretly picked the Denver Nuggets to win this game. So before you had a chance to actually review the footage and see what actually went wrong in this game, you hopped on the show and you spewed a lot of emotional things that just weren't factual. But see, that's why you have FYF debates. See, FYF debates here, we just debunk you. We don't get personal. We don't talk shit. We just debunk you with facts, man. You guys, I know this was a long video, man, but we had to educate people today. And we have to educate you. So let me know what you think about the video. Hit us up in the comments. I know you guys are going to have a lot to say. I know Ticket TV is going to say, you know, I'm making this to clout chase off his name. No, probably, you know, I don't think so. No, that's not what we do here. You know, how many subscribers we at? I think we just surpassed 13K subscribers today. Hey, y'all, I'm going to let y'all know, subscribers, when y'all hear that nonsense, you don't need to listen to it, because we know FYF Sports, man, we know our subscribers, we get our subscribers out the mud. Hey, that's just how it is. Again, when we have to call people out, it's for educational purposes only. Y'all seen the merchandise. Y'all see the merchandise. Make sure you get your research purposes only shirts. We got the shirts in the merch store. Research purposes only. So again, Ticket, when you watch this video, it's research. You educate yourself. Go learn the game. Right? That's all we doing here. James, educate yourself a little bit more. Go learn the game. We can't fire every single coach. The Blazers lose. Fire Terry Stotts. The Clippers lose. Fire Doc Rivers. Denver's losing now. Fire Mike Malone. We can't just fire every goddamn coach because they run into the best player in the league and they don't play how you want them to play. We know that you secretly want Denver to win. That's fine. If you're going to be a Denver fan, just be a Denver fan. But don't secretly expose yourself and tell the fans, tell everybody that Will jinxed you. Will is not the reason why Denver lost tonight. They just got outmatched. They're playing the better team. The Lakers have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA on their team. That's what happens in the NBA. When you have 2 of the top 5 players in the league on your team, you usually win. That's just basketball. Like, you don't know basketball. That's what you say. I mean, we got to say FYF Sportsman. We got to call it out how we see it. But again, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to the video. Another great video. Another great ether. This was supposed to be an ether to the 3rd degree. Actually ended up being an ether to the 4th degree because we exposed another fact. Ticket TV he's a secretive Denver Nuggets fan. I know this is like your 9th team that you've been cheering for in the playoffs. You know, I will be willing to come out my pockets and buy you a Miami Heat or Boston Celtic jersey if you need to cheer them on as well. If you want to see the Lakers lose. Again, no, you don't have to pay me back. Whatever player you want. I got a Miami Heat or Boston Celtic jersey waiting on you. Or I could just go buy you one of the ones that's split in half. They got Boston and the Heat on each side, so we don't know who's going to win that series. We can get you one that's split in half, and you can just cheer whoever you want on. You can just kind of sit to the side and just show the camera one side depending on who wins or loses. You can just let me know. You let me know who you want to cheer for, because we know it's not going to be the Lakers and LeBron James when they get to the NBA Finals. But again, just like I said before, like, comment, and subscribe. Obviously, we have our PlayStation 5 pre-order giveaway coming soon. I cannot wait to announce the winner of that. All right, so if you stuck around in this video, if you watched the video all the way to the end, if you've heard this ether to the 4th degree, you know what I need to see in the comments? I need to see ether to the 4th degree in the comment sections. If you watch this video all the way through, if you listen to Ticket TV get systematically debunked and broke down his entire narrative and perspective on the game, just chopped up and screwed and just thrown into the trash can, ether to the 4th degree in the comment section, man. Ether to the 4th. And you know what? Because it's a special video today, because it's a long video, anybody who enters that in, I'm going to give you a double entry. So by typing that in the comments, you get 2 entries into the drawing. And this drawing box is filling up. A lot of you guys are surprising me. I'm looking in the comments. I see a lot of people entering the secret code word of the day in them comments. So I really appreciate you guys watching the videos, staying engaged in the content, man. Because again, it's a lot of work. Right now it's just me. And it's not easy creating the content, editing the content, posting the content, marketing the content on the website, on Tumblr, on Pinterest, on all these social media platforms, responding to you guys, your emails. I mean, it's a lot to keep up with. So again, I really appreciate it when you guys show me the love back. You watch the videos all the way through. You give me that engagement. All that's going, like I said, I'm doing giveaways. I don't do this for the money. I do this for the love of the game. That's why I do these giveaways. I'm giving back. You know, even when we do our donations, even when we accept donations into the channel, you know, this is all going to be given back to you guys, because when we do our live debates, we give money to the person that comes with the best arguments. If you come and you ether me that night, whatever the cash prize is for the night, you get that cash prize. Ain't no blocking, you know, whether it's hate, whether it's love. I listen to basketball narratives. I listen to basketball arguments. All right, and it's not gonna be me making the decision. If you guys in the comments say I got ether, if you guys in the comments say this particular person won for the night, they get the money. Cash App that same day. Hey, Super Mac Defunct, where you been at? I owe you $20. I know it. Our Cash App is on the videos. Our Cash App's in the description. Send me a request. I'll send you that $20 if you get to the end of the video, Super Mac. If you guys see this, you know, tell Super Mac to hit me up so I can pay him his $20. But hey, FYF Sports, man, another great video. Ether to the 4th degree. Don't forget PlayStation 5 giveaway coming. All right, we're going to be making that announcement next week. So make sure you tune in to all our videos and get your entries in. FYF Sports, man. We out.